My wife's lips pressed against mine in the dead of night, soft and trembling, as if confessing a secret she'd buried for years. I froze, heart pounding, caught between shock and a strange, aching hope. For 7 years, Sarah had been a fortress, distant, untouchable, her heart locked away behind a wall I couldn't breach. We lived in a quiet brownstone in Brooklyn, where the hum of the city felt like a pulse we could never quite sync with. Our marriage was a carefully choreographed routine, coffee brewed in silence, dinners eaten with the TV on, and nights where we slept back to back, inches apart but worlds away. Emily, was 32, a graphic designer with a penchant for sketching cityscapes in my journal, always chasing the warmth Sarah withheld. She was 33, a lawyer with sharp cheekbones and sharper defenses, her blonde hair always pulled back, her blue eyes rarely meeting mine. It wasn't always like this. In the beginning, there were sparks, late-night talks in college, stolen glances over library books, her laugh like a melody I wanted to memorize. We married young, at 25, full of dreams about a life together. But somewhere along the way, Sarah's warmth faded. She'd come home late, her briefcase a shield, her words clipped. I'd try to reach her. Small gestures, a hand on her arm, a question about her day, but she'd pull away, leaving me to wonder what I'd done wrong. That night, though, changed everything. It was 2 a.m., the kind of hour where the world feels suspended. I woke to her breath on my cheek, her lips grazing mine in a kiss, so tender it felt like a dream. But it wasn't. Sarah was asleep, her face soft, unguarded, her hand curled against my chest. My breath hitched. Was this real? Did she even know she was doing it? I stayed still, afraid to break the moment, afraid to hope it meant something. The next morning, Sarah was her usual self, cool, composed, sipping her coffee while scrolling through emails. I watched her, searching for a crack in her armor, a hint of the woman who'd kissed me in her sleep. Nothing. I wanted to ask, to demand answers, but fear glued my tongue. What if it was nothing? What if it was everything? Days passed, and I became obsessed. I'd lie awake, watching her sleep, hoping she'd do it again. She didn't. But I noticed things I'd missed before, the way her fingers lingered when she handed me a mug, the way her eyes softened when she thought I wasn't looking. Was I imagining it? Or was Sarah hiding something, even from herself? I started digging quietly. Her phone, usually locked tighter than Fort Knox, was left on the counter one evening. I hesitated, guilt clawing at me, but curiosity won. No texts, no emails, nothing obvious. Just a single photo, buried in a hidden folder, a picture of us from our wedding day, laughing, my arms around her waist. Why keep it hidden? Why hold on to it at all? The questions gnawed at me. I began to notice the tension in our home, like a storm brewing. Sarah was sharper, snapping at small things, a dish left out, a late bill. But sometimes, I'd catch her staring at me, her expression unreadable, and my heart would leap. I needed to know what was behind that kiss, what was behind her walls. One evening over dinner, I couldn't hold back. Sarah, I said, my voice shaking, do you ever think about us? About what we used to be? She froze, fork halfway to her mouth, her eyes locking onto mine for the first time in months. What's there to think about, Emily? She said, but her voice cracked. Just for a second. I pushed further. I don't know. Maybe there's something you're not saying. She stood abruptly, chair scraping against the floor, and walked out. The door slammed, and I was left with the echo of my own words. But I wasn't giving up. That kiss, that fleeting moment, was a thread I'd follow, no matter where it led. I spent the next week chasing shadows. Sarah's absence after our fight lingered like a bruise. Her late nights at the office stretched longer, her silences deeper. I filled the empty hours sketching her face from memory, trying to capture the woman I'd seen in her sleep, soft and unguarded. One night, unable to sleep, I wandered into her home office. Her laptop was open, a rare lapse. I hesitated, knowing this was a line I shouldn't cross, but the need to understand her consumed me. I clicked through files, case notes, emails, nothing personal, until I found a locked document titled Letters. My heart raced. I tried her birthday, our anniversary, my name. Nothing worked. I shut the laptop, feeling like a thief, but the title burned in my mind. Letters to who? The next day, I followed her. I don't know what possessed me. Desperation, maybe, or the ghost of that kiss. She left the brownstone at 7 p.m., her coat pulled tight against the October chill, and I trailed her through Brooklyn's crowded streets. She didn't go to her office. Instead, she slipped into a small cafe, one we used to visit when we were dating. My stomach twisted as I watched through the window. She sat alone, scribbling in a notebook, her face a mix of focus and something else. Pain, maybe. I wanted to barge in, demand answers, but my feet stayed rooted. When she came home, I was waiting. "Where were you?" I asked, trying to keep my voice steady. She flinched, her briefcase slipping slightly in her grip. "Work," she said too quickly. I stepped closer. "Sarah, I saw you at the cafe."
"What's going on?"
Her eyes darted away, and for a moment, I thought she'd bolt again. Instead, she sighed, shoulders slumping. "It's nothing, Emily. Just leave it." But I couldn't. The next evening, I found her notebook on the kitchen counter, forgotten in her rush to leave. My hands shook as I opened it. Pages of her neat handwriting, letters addressed to me. "Dear Emily," one began, "I don't know how to say this. I'm drowning, and you're the only thing keeping me afloat." My breath caught. The words were raw, unguarded, confessing love and fear and guilt. She wrote about feeling trapped, about a secret she couldn't face. But what? I confronted her that night. "Sarah, I read your notebook." Her face went pale, her hands clenching. "You had no right," she whispered, but there was no anger, only fear. "What are you so afraid of?" I pressed. "You kiss me in your sleep. You're writing letters you never send."
"Talk to me."
She shook her head, tears welling, and fled to our bedroom, locking the door. I sat outside, my back against the wall, listening to her muffled sobs. I wanted to break the door down, to hold her, to demand she let me in, but I knew forcing her would only push her further away. So I waited, sketching her name in my journal, each letter a plea. The next morning, she was gone before I woke. A note on the counter read, "I need time." My heart sank, but I clung to the memory of her kiss, her words in that notebook. She was fighting something, and I'd fight for her, even if she couldn't fight for herself. Sarah didn't come home for 2 days. I called her office, her friends, even her sister in Chicago. Nothing. Panic clawed at me, but so did determination. I kept her notebook close, rereading her letters, each one a piece of the puzzle. "I'm not who you think I am," she wrote in one. "I'm afraid you'll hate me if you know."
"Know what?"
On the third day, I found her. She'd checked into a small hotel in Manhattan, a place we'd stayed once during a rare vacation. I stood outside her room, heart hammering, and knocked. When she opened the door, her eyes were red, her hair loose and messy, a far cry from her usual polish. "Emily," she whispered, stepping back. I didn't wait for an invitation. I walked in. "Why are you running?" I asked, my voice breaking. She sank onto the bed, hands twisting in her lap. "I can't do this anymore," she said. "Pretend everything's fine. Pretend I'm fine." I knelt in front of her, searching her face. "Then stop pretending. Tell me." She looked away, her jaw tight. "You deserve better, Emily. Someone who isn't broken." The word hit me like a punch. "You're not broken," I said fiercely. "You're my wife. I love you." Her eyes met mine, and for a moment, I saw the Sarah I'd fallen for, vulnerable, real. Then she pulled away, standing abruptly. "You don't understand," she said, voice shaking. "I'm not. I don't know how to be what you need." I grabbed her hand, refusing to let her retreat. That kiss, Sarah. In your sleep. It was real. I felt it. You can't hide from that. Her breath hitched, and she yanked her hand back. It was a mistake, she snapped, but her voice cracked. I don't know why I did it. You were asleep, I said softly. You weren't guarding yourself. Maybe that's the real you. She shook her head, tears spilling. You don't know what you're asking for. But I did. I was asking for her, all of her, even the parts she was terrified to show. We stood there, the air thick with unspoken words. Finally, she spoke, barely audible. I've been seeing someone, a therapist, for months. My heart stopped. Why? I asked. She hesitated, then said, because I'm trying to figure out who I am, and why I can't love you the way you deserve. The confession hung between us, raw and jagged. I wanted to scream, to cry, to hold her. Instead, I said, then let me help you figure it out. She looked at me, her walls crumbling, and for the first time in years, she didn't pull away. We returned to the brownstone, but the air between us was different, fragile, like a thread stretched taut. Sarah agreed to talk, but only in pieces, as if the truth was too heavy to spill all at once. Over coffee the next morning, she admitted she'd been questioning everything, her identity, our marriage, her own heart. I've always loved you, she said, staring into her mug. But I don't know if it's enough. Her words cut, but I clung to them. They were honest, more than I'd gotten in years. I suggested we see her therapist together, and though she hesitated, she nodded. The first session was awkward, stilted. Dr. Lena Carter, a kind-eyed woman in her 50s, asked us to start with why we were there. I blurted out the kiss, the notebook, my desperation to understand. Sarah sat rigid, barely speaking, but her eyes betrayed her, glistening, conflicted. Over weeks, the sessions peeled back layers. Sarah admitted she'd felt wrong since childhood, like she didn't fit in her own skin. She'd buried it, built a life around being perfect, perfect lawyer, perfect wife. But perfection was a cage, and she was suffocating. I listened, heart aching, realizing how little I'd known about her inner world. One night, after a session, she broke down in our kitchen. I'm scared, Emily, she sobbed. What if I'm not who I thought I was? What if I'm gay, and I've been lying to myself? To you? The word hung there, heavy but not surprising. I'd wondered it too, felt it in the way she'd kissed me that night, in the longing she couldn't hide in her sleep. I took her hand, my voice steady despite the storm inside. If you're gay, Sarah, I'm still here. I love you. We'll figure it out together. She looked at me, tears streaming, and for the first time in years, she leaned into me, her head on my shoulder. It wasn't an answer, but it was a start. We started rebuilding slowly. Date nights, walks in the park, moments where we'd laugh like we used to. But the question lingered. What did her truth mean for us? I loved her, but I needed her to love herself first. And I wasn't sure she could. The therapy sessions became our lifeline, but they were a battlefield too. Sarah's walls didn't crumble easily. She'd open up one day, sharing memories of feeling different in high school, then clam up the next, her fear of vulnerability winning out. I tried to be patient, but the uncertainty gnawed at me. Was she pulling closer or slipping away? One evening, we walked through Prospect Park, the air crisp with autumn. She stopped by a pond, staring at the water. I used to dream about you, she said suddenly. Before we got married. You were always there, in my sleep, like you were part of me. My heart leapt. What changed? I asked. She turned, her eyes searching mine. I got scared. Of how much I felt. Of what it might mean. I wanted to kiss her, to bridge the gap between us, but I held back. She needed to come to me on her own terms. Instead, I took her hand, and we walked in silence, the weight of her words settling between us. At home, things were tentative but warmer. She'd linger in the kitchen while I cooked, asking about my sketches. I'd catch her smiling, a real smile, not the guarded one she'd worn for years. But there were still moments of distance, nights when she'd retreat to her office, closing the door. One day, I found a new letter in her notebook, left open on the couch. "Dear Emily," it read, "I'm trying to be brave. I think I'm in love with you, but I don't know how to be the person you need." My chest tightened. I left the notebook where it was, but that night, I slipped into bed beside her, whispering, "I read your letter. I'm not going anywhere." She didn't respond, but her hand found mine under the covers, squeezing tight. The next session with Dr. Carter was a turning point. Sarah admitted she'd been attracted to women before me, but she'd pushed it down, terrified of what it meant. "I married you because I loved you," she said, tears falling. "But I didn't know how to love myself." I reached for her, and she let me hold her, her sobs shaking us both. We were on the edge of something, truth, maybe, or a new beginning. But I knew it wouldn't be easy. Love was messy, and ours was no exception. Winter settled over Brooklyn, and with it, a cautious hope. Sarah was trying, really trying. She'd leave her phone unlocked, her notebook open, small gestures of trust. We started cooking together, laughing over burnt pancakes, and one night, she kissed me, awake and intentional, her lips soft and certain. It felt like the first time in years. But the past wasn't done with us. One evening, an old college friend, Mia, reached out to Sarah. They'd been close, too close, Sarah admitted, back when she was still figuring herself out. Mia was in town, wanted to meet. Sarah looked at me, unsure. "Go," I said, though my stomach churned. "You need to face this." She met Mia at a bar, and I stayed home, sketching furiously to keep my nerves at bay. When Sarah returned, her face was a storm. She wanted to rekindle something, she said, voice low. "But I told her I'm with you. I choose you." Relief flooded me, but so did doubt. Was she choosing me out of love or obligation? The question lingered, poisoning our progress. I started noticing cracks, moments when Sarah would stare out the window, lost in thought, or pull away when I reached for her. I confronted her one night, my voice shaking. "Are you staying because you want to, or because you feel like you have to?" She flinched, her eyes wide. "I want to," she said, but there was a tremor in her voice. Dr. Carter pushed us to dig deeper. Sarah admitted she was still grappling with her identity, with the shame she'd carried since childhood. "I want to be with you," she told me in session, her voice raw. "But I'm scared I'll hurt you if I'm not whole." I wanted to scream that I didn't need her to be whole, just honest. But I saw the fear in her eyes, and I softened. "We'll get there," I said. Together. That night, she kissed me again, fiercer this time, like she was staking a claim. I kissed her back, pouring every ounce of hope into it. We were fragile, but we were fighting, for us, for her, for the love we'd almost lost. Spring brought a tentative bloom to our marriage. Sarah was more present, her smiles freer, her touch lingering. We planned a trip to the Hudson Valley, a chance to escape the city and reconnect. The night before we left, she gave me a letter, not hidden, not locked away. "Read it when we're there," she said, her voice shy. In a cabin surrounded by budding trees, I opened it. Her words spilled out, love, fear, gratitude. "I was lost," she wrote, "but you never gave up on me. I'm still finding myself, but I know I want you in every version of my life." Tears blurred my vision. I found her outside, staring at the stars, and kissed her, the letter crumpled between us. The trip was a turning point. We talked for hours about her fears, my doubts, our future. She admitted she was still navigating her identity, but she was done hiding. "I'm a lesbian," she said, the words steady, unashamed. "And I love you, Emily. I always have." I pulled her close, my heart full. Back in Brooklyn, We faced new challenges. Sarah came out to her sister, who was supportive but cautious. Her colleagues were less kind, whispers in the office, sidelong glances. I saw the toll it took, but she held her head high, her hand in mine. I was proud, but I worried. Was I enough to anchor her through this? One night, she came home late, her face pale. A coworker had outed her to a client, and she'd lost a big case. She crumpled into my arms, sobbing. "I don't know if I can do this," she said. I held her, whispering, "You're not alone. We're in this together." And I meant it, every word. We started rebuilding, not just our marriage but our lives. Sarah joined a support group, found community. I sketched her laughing with new friends, her face alight. We were healing, but I knew the road ahead wasn't smooth. Love wasn't a cure, it was a choice, one we made every day. A year after that kiss in her sleep, our brownstone felt alive again. Sarah's laughter filled the rooms, her touch a constant reminder of what we'd fought for. But life wasn't a fairy tale. There were still hard days, moments when her past fears resurfaced, or when my insecurities whispered that I wasn't enough. We faced them together, hand in hand. Sarah left her firm, starting her own practice focused on marginalized communities. It was risky, but she thrived, her purpose clear. I took on freelance projects, sketching stories of resilience, inspired by her. We were building something new, not just for us but for others who felt unseen. One evening, as we sat on our stoop, watching the city pulse, Sarah turned to me. "I used to think I had to be perfect to deserve you," she said, her voice soft. "But you loved me when I couldn't love myself. That's what saved me." I kissed her, tears in my eyes, knowing we'd saved each other. We renewed our vows that summer, in a small ceremony in Prospect Park. No fortress, no walls, just us, surrounded by friends who'd become family. Sarah wore her hair loose, her smile unguarded, and I felt like I was seeing her for the first time. "I choose you," she whispered, her vows echoing her letters. "Every day, I choose you." As we danced under fairy lights, I thought about that kiss, the one that started it all. It wasn't just a moment. It was a crack in the wall, a glimpse of the woman she was becoming. Our love wasn't perfect, but it was real, forged in pain and hope and the courage to face the truth. We still had battles ahead, society's judgment, our own doubts, but we'd learned to fight together. Sarah's kiss in her sleep hadn't just woken me, it had woken us both. And in that awakening, we found a love stronger than we'd ever imagined, one worth every tear, every fight, every moment of doubt.